All right, greetings everybody, and welcome to week number two. That is right, week number two of your 9489 class, which is your cultural heritage class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Austin, and what we are going to be doing today in this class, or this week in this class, in this check-in video, is we are going to do a very quick state of the course update, and then I am going to talk again about the doing a heritage project and doing that instead of actually doing a final paper. So this one, I know you had a check-in video that was over 90 minutes long last week. Hope you sped it up, in which case if you did speed it up, it should have been only about 65 minutes. But if you well, yes, you had a long check-in video last week, so this one is going to be short to kind of balance that out. Hopefully this check-in video will be 15 minutes unsped. So in order to make that happen, let's go ahead and get into things now, and then maybe next week's will be a little longer, but I know after you watched that long one last week, this one needs to be a little shorter. So let's go ahead and get into the state of the course updates. Okay, so the main thing to know is it looks like everybody, I haven't gone in and read them all and put in grades yet, but it does look like everybody did their introductory posts and did them on time. If you did not do something correctly, you will be getting a note from me this week. So but it does look like, I do believe that everybody got their intro post up and got a response to a classmate up on time. And so if you did that, you will have nothing to worry about when I put those grades in. You will start out with those 2 points. So hopefully everybody did as they were supposed to. And this week, as you go down the syllabus, you will see that your readings this week, they go into preservation, concerns with cultural heritage. Again, you had kind of like definitive definitions and groundwork reading and that sort of thing last week, but this week we will do the preservation concerns, and this is also going to be kind of a heavy topic, kind of a bit of a drier read for the reading's going to be a little bit drier this week, but next week hopefully you will have fun with the closer look at the landscape and natural heritage, and those things are the reading next week is going to be a little easier to digest than what you've got this week, but again, the things that we have available for this week, again, they provide a lot of that foundational knowledge that you're going to need in order to be successful in this class. And then also this stuff that you're reading this week, it goes kind of hand in hand with, for those of you who are on the archival track, and I know several of you are on the archives track and you're doing a lot of stuff with Dr. Sarah Buchanan. If you're on that archives track, then what we're doing this week kind of complements that, because we're talking about preservation concerns and that sort of thing. So and that's what archives is about, as well as about preservation, as you all know. So hopefully those of you who are in the archival track specifically will especially get something out of the readings for this week, but we do need to do these readings for this week in order to lay the context and groundwork for what we're going to be doing as we move forward. Okay, so let's talk about, oh yeah, and then you will have a discussion board prompt. Let's talk about that really quick, because you didn't have a discussion board prompt about the content in week number one, but in week number two, because you were just introducing yourself in week number one. But yes, in week number two, you're actually going to have questions about the content here. So take at least 2 paragraphs, one to explain what your cultural heritage resource is, and a second to explain the threat. And threats are threats to preservation, or threats to cultural heritage is one of the things that we talk about in the readings, or one thing that you're going to be reading about in the readings this week. But then we are going to have a unit that goes way deeper into that later on in the semester, okay? Now, okay, so with the remaining time, and I've got about 11 minutes, with the remaining time, we're going to talk a little bit about the Heritage Project. So again, and I spoke a little bit about this in the check-in video last week, but again, that was a long check-in video, so let's go ahead and speak about it a little more in depth this time around. So what you will see is that your final paper is going to be hinging upon the content from the Confederate commemoration unit that we have, and you're gonna, if you decide to do the final paper, you're gonna be doing the final paper either on the Confederate preservation argument or on a library or cultural institution naming controversy. Okay, so that's what's headed your way again if you decide to do the final paper. However, you do not have to do the final paper, and again, I encourage you to not do the final paper if you have an idea for a heritage project. So in lieu of, and again, now if you decide to do the heritage paper, then it's going to be worth 25 points. You've got this rubric right here, all the things, yada, yada, yada. But if you decide to do the heritage project instead, really just completing the heritage project and completing it in good faith will be what will get you that full 25 points. And there are a wide variety of things that you can do. Now, I do want to, let me see. If you decide to do a heritage project, you need to email me with your idea by midnight on March the 2nd. Okay, so March the 2nd is going to be your deadline, but you're going to have the whole month of February to figure out if you want to do the heritage project, go the heritage project route, and if so, what you would like to do. But doing the heritage project does not have to be a huge thing, and that's the main thing that I want to get across right now. Hold on for a second. Okay, so again, your heritage projects can be a wide variety of things, and they can take a wide variety of time and that sort of thing. But I really want you all to be thinking about this because, quite frankly, like I said in the check-in video last week, I would actually prefer that you all do a heritage project instead of the final paper. The final paper helps basically just me and you. It helps you because you learn as you research in order to do the final paper, and it helps me because I get to learn about whatever you're doing your final paper on. And all of that is cool, all of that is great, but when I talk about you doing a heritage project, that is you actually helping people outside of this classroom. It's not just about you helping yourself and helping me. It is about you helping a community. It is about you helping a culture, okay? And so again, there are a number of different ways that you can go with this, and I want you all to get your brain meat working and think of some things even potentially that I have not thought about, including look at the syllabus and see some things. And again, there are a wide variety of things that you can do. So some examples of some things that'll just come off the top of my head here. Again, I mentioned some of these last week, but the check-in video was so long you probably can't remember all of that, and I don't know exactly where I mentioned it in that check-in video last week. So I might as well just mention it again and expose you all to it again. But one popular route that I've had several students in the past go with, because most of you are working in libraries as library science students, is you can definitely do some sort of book display. So like if you wanted to do a book display in your library as your heritage project, first of all, I do need to bring up this caveat though. There is a caveat to choosing the heritage project, that it can't be something that you get paid for, and it can't be something that, is part of your routine regular job duties. However, it can be something that you do at your job, as long as it's outside of your normal job duties, if that makes sense. So if you're not, let's say for instance that you're in Hannibal, Missouri, and you wanted to, for your heritage project, you wanted to put together a book display for books about Hannibal heritage, Hannibal history, Hannibal culture. You can do that. That would be fine. But it needs to be something that you would not be ordinarily doing. Okay. So you can ask your supervisor. You can say, "Hey, my professor, Dr. JC, said that what I could do is just like put this heritage project together. Like if I put a book display together, I know that's usually not my job, but if I do it, then I could take a picture of the book display, send that to him, and he would consider that me doing a cultural heritage project, and see if your supervisor would let you do that. And if your supervisor allows you to do that, again, that's something that's outside of your normal job duties, and so it will count as something that you can do your cultural heritage project on, okay? Some other ideas that come along, and by the way, you are not limited to these ideas. These are just some things that you can think of as starting points. But if you come up with some things that you think are even better ideas, shoot them by me. I'll either say yay or nay, and either way, or I'll, give you some room to where you can adjust like I might give you some feedback. Hey, that might work, but what you need to do is make this, and that adjustment. And then once you make those adjustments, then you're good to go. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, again, propose something and then just let me either say, yes, that's good, or no, that's not something you can do, or that's something you can do, but let's make some adjustments to it. Now, again, some of the other ideas that you can have for your heritage project would include, I've had a student do a postcard project. He did like a project where he was digitizing postcards using Content DM, and they were postcards specifically from the Metro Kansas City area. So he digitized those, he hosted them somewhere, and yes, that counted as his heritage project. I've had students work different roles at festivals. Festivals are intangible heritage, and if it's a local festival, like let's say your town has some sort of town festival, or your town hosts an annual car festival or an annual festival about some food or something, and people from all over the country come to this festival every year. By all means, any type of work that you do at that festival, if you perform at the festival, if you help set up, if you help, take tickets or take money, if you do anything like that, if you make food for the festival, something like that, all of that would count. Speaking of food, yes, if you do anything related to like, if there's some sort of cultural heritage food, and like you prepare that food for some sort of function or something, it could even be a church function, but if you prepare, which I know a lot of Midwesterners and a lot of Southerners, I'm from the South, we make food for church functions and things like that. So yes, if you make some sort of, it does have to be a heritage food. Tell me what you're making, so it can't just be, I know that hot dogs are technically considered like ballpark heritage food, but no, you can't just grill some hot dogs. You have to do something with some cultural relevance, and it has to tie into it some sort of theme, okay? But you can make food for an event. You can, some other things that people have done is, I've had people do programs at the library. They did a local history program. Admission would need to be free. You would need to let anyone who wanted to come. But, yeah, you could put together a program to do at the local library. You could, some other ideas, you can coach. If you, games and sports are also considered cultural heritage. And so like if you, let's say you wanted to coach somebody on how to play bocce or something. Bocce is a Italian game. If it's a game that you know and you wanted to just do a coaching session or a training session, to show some kids or somebody how to play and that sort of thing, and you have some sort of documentation. The main thing there is that you do need some sort of documentation. Taking pictures is going to be fine for the most part, or if you like, again, if you did something like a postcard project and hosted those images online, then sending me a link, that would be enough. But pictures are usually going to be enough for your documentation. So for instance, you do a program, have somebody take a picture of you delivering whatever you're delivering at the program, or let's say that you are, you can take pictures of food if you produced food or something like that. If you are performing somewhere, you can have somebody take a picture of you performing. If you make a book display, just take a picture of the book display, so forth and so on. That part does not need to be hard. Some other things that students have done, I've had students who made promotional materials for little museums in their area. A lot of museums are run almost entirely or entirely on volunteer staffing. So definitely if you do something like go into Publisher, make like promotional materials for a museum or something, and then you don't sell, you give those promotional materials to that museum in a file so that they can use it, and then just send that file to me. And by all means, I would accept that as your heritage idea. You can also do a set amount of volunteer hours at a local museum if you wanted to, that sort of thing. That would be I would very much smile upon that, especially if it's a museum that doesn't have any full-time employees, or doesn't have, or maybe has one full-time employee or something like that, and they're really having to make things exist and function on volunteer labor. By all means, your volunteer work would be great for that. You can clean up a cemetery. That would be another thing that would count. All right. So, yes, so there are multiple ways that you can take this. Another thing that you can do is if there's anything like a fashion show, let's say there's I used to participate in African fashion shows, and so, all right, hold on, Ani. So I used to participate, for instance, in African fashion shows. That was something I would do, and yeah, that was one way that I would actually model off some clothes, and that's fashion is a form of tangible heritage, especially if it's fashion specific to a culture or something like that. So there are multiple ways you can go with this. I am going to go a little bit over 15 minutes, but not a lot. But yes, all of this to say this is a starting point. But if you have anything that pops in your head between now and Sunday, March the 2nd, that you're thinking, hey, that might be a worthwhile heritage project that I can do instead of the final paper. Again, I would prefer that you do the heritage projects. So by all means, reach out and let me know what your idea is, and I will let you know whether or not it is a pass or fail or needs some adjustment before we make it a pass. Okay, so there you go. With that said, I'm going to leave it right there because again, you had that long check-in video last week, and I hope you sped this up. I am Dr. Jace, and an opportunity to participate in a heritage project is a terrible thing to waste. All right, I will see you next week with APA tips.